And for the business owner, taking risk could be like, hey, we need to, invest in XYZ to make the business better, but you don't know if it's going to work.
But let me ask something.
No, I just defined risk. You didn't define risk.
That certainty that you're kind of excited and depend upon, right? People who I know who had like really great government jobs, and they're like, look, I got like 5 more years right off in the sunset and all this stuff. They didn't do anything to improve themselves. They just did everything within the ecosystem. Like, I'm good. The government's taking care of me. I'm good.
Do you think that the lack of risk comes from the fact that comes from the lack of unknown, or because people are just lazy and they don't want to do the work to grow and get to the next level?
I think it's both. Yeah. I think. Now let me define risk.
Thank God. Thank God.
About 10 minutes.
Like, we're about to wrap up. All right, see you guys next week. All right,
man. This is.
What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
BTG.
Hey, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of our future content. Our podcast is about business and lifestyle. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. My name is Kay.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Tosin. And today we're going to be talking about taking risks.
Oh, taking risks.
Yeah, I was reading an article one day, and it was Jerome Powell, the Fed chair. And it was just kind of headline, it's one of those you're scrolling through and it kind of piques your interest, right? And it was like, not enough people are taking risks today.
Right.
I don't know. Is there a problem with taking risks? Because my every day is risky.
I mean,
all right.
Taking risk and it being risky are different.
Exactly.
Right? It's already risky enough, so people don't want to add to it.
Yeah, but the problem is if you're defining it that way, even if it has a little bit of risk, we're not talking about the risks that are, I'm driving to work and possibly somebody crazy on 635 is going to take me out. All right. That's a risk, but
because people have identified risk as something negative, right? There's a clear difference between a calculated risk and reckless gamble. Yeah. I remember when I was working on my 9 to 5 and I wanted to step into the entrepreneur world, and, I didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm just going to quit my job and just go straight into a startup mode, right? I had to take a calculated risk. What I did was I first registered my business, right? And then slowly but surely, as I started getting more comfortable and as things started progressing, I made a calculated risk to leave my 9 to 5. So I think, taking risk, yes, is good, but it's all about asking yourself, have I done enough research to take a calculated risk? And rather than having a reckless gambling.
Well, is it a risk at that point then?
Yeah, it's still a risk because I'm going from something that is certain to
hold on. Maybe Alan, go ahead and define what you mean by risk. I was saying,
is it a risk at that point? Because like he said,
do you mean
you driving on the highway is
risky,
right? So. Is it now diminished? Is the risk diminished to the level of that now?
There are different levels of risk, obviously, right? You want to make sure that if you're taking any risk, that you're doing everything that you can to make sure that you have backup upon backup. But it's still risky because anytime you're going on business, for yourself, it's considered risk compared to if you're going to work, that every 2 weeks, you have a guaranteed paycheck coming.
Okay, so I guess my question is, which I'll come back to the definition, is you do have a guaranteed paycheck at the point where you've already had a backup plan and you went on to yourself and you knew the environment, you already calculated all that. So at that point, is that even risk?
Yes, it is.
Or are you just going to work
you
like regular, like as if you had a 9 to 5, right? Or isn't the risk about the same at that point? Right?
Well, you can look at it this way, where people get complacent. So a risk may be changing jobs, not just, let's not even just go into business, but it could be changing jobs, right? Because if that job is not challenging you, the ins and outs, you can do that job in your sleep. And
sounds like a good job.
Well, that's the risk that we're talking about. Why just coast? right? Maybe in the example of a W-2 person, coasting is taking risk, is going to be that version of taking risk.
Right.
For some people, the entrepreneur,
that is a risk.
it could be jumping out and doing business, whether it's a part-time business or a full-time business. And for the business owner, taking risk could be like, hey, we need to, invest in XYZ to make the business better, but you don't know if it's going to work.
But let me ask something.
No, I just defined risk. You didn't define risk yet. I need you to define it.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
So
you're keeping them waiting.
I'm bringing it back to your first question, which is like, why isn't anyone taking risks? Yeah. All right, maybe some of us is tired. I'm just tired. We just want a soft life now. How about that?
I mean, we got a whole other episode about that one. Right. But I mean, if not enough of us take risks,
right?
What happens to innovations?
Exactly.
We wait on you guys.
Wait on us. I think it takes a lot of us that are taking risks to be able to shift, make generational shifts.
That's what the kids are for.
Oh, okay.
I was speaking to a friend of mine.
I was just being funny, guy.
I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she was telling me about. She said her husband works for the government, right? And I think everybody knows that government jobs is probably much more easier jobs.
Less risk.
Because
more certainty.
Prior
depending on the administration, right? It's like you have 4 years, right?
But anyway, he's been doing that job for the past 15 years, right? To a point that there seems to be a level of stagnation, right? But there's a comfort level that exists where he doesn't want to take the next step or change job simply because of the unknown. Yeah, does that make sense?
He knows this. That's what I was talking about.
He can do it in his sleep. And I feel like when you are in a position where you don't want to take risk, you set yourself up, or you put yourself in a position where you're stagnated, right? And you're not improving. You're not growing.
I think it's catch-22 because that certainty that you're kind of excited and depend upon, right? People who I know who had like really great government jobs, and they're like, look, I got like 5 more years
to right off in
the sunset and all this stuff. They didn't do anything to improve themselves. They just did everything within the ecosystem. Like, I'm good. The government's taking care of me. I'm good. We print money, so I got a job, but then you switch administrations until this administration, and a lot of the person got laid off. So now it's like, I don't even know how to get a job. I don't know how to get out there. I haven't really done anything because
my resume is not just dusty, it's crusty.
And I mean, he has experience, but it's different when you're not updating or doing anything, seeing what's going on outside that ecosystem. So he's having to almost like, you built all this tenure after a while. So now you're having to go out and start at the bottom. Well, maybe not quite at the bottom, but it's not where you were. And I was like, I tried to tell you all those years. I mean, you're a little bit older. It wasn't I told you so moment, but I'm like, all you can do now is like learn from it. I know you only have 4 years to you end.
Well, even if you stay in with the same employer, doesn't mean there aren't opportunities within. Example of your friend, like you can actually do other projects, take on other roles, like volunteer for stuff that other people aren't volunteering for. Like making yourself indisposable by learning new traits and then seeing how you can use it to help the business.
Or very valuable and worthy of whoever, wherever, even if you do leave or if you do get fired, you're like, well, this person wants me.
So let me ask you guys this. Do you think that the lack of risk comes from the fact that comes from the lack of unknown, or because people are just lazy and they don't want to do the work to grow and get to the next level?
I think it's both. I think, now let me define risk.
Thank God.
After about 10 minutes.
Like we're about to wrap up. All right. See you guys next week. All right.
Hey, man, this is called great delivery. You got to keep the people wanting more. The suspense.
How do you define risk, Alan?
Risk, I would say, is pretty much there are levels, right? So it's doing something unknown without being able to predict the outcome. It's not in your control.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
I disagree with that. What do you mean without being able to predict the outcome?
Nothing is predictable. You would be able to do
maybe
anything.
you mean the certainty.
The certainty,
okay.
Correct.
Because I say calculated risk, and the definition of a calculated risk is simply being able to predict the outcome. Doesn't mean that it's guaranteed.
Confident.
No.
Exactly.
A certain amount of confidence.
You're not able to predict. You're able to project.
A level of confidence.
Exactly, with a level of confidence. So no one could predict the future. I would be a billionaire. So I would just make all the right bets, right?
Just don't forget me.
But it's you're not able to foresee. There's the chance, basically chance, right? That's what risk is. The chance of it going not your way.
Right.
And that's scary because if you do X, there's an equation in what you're doing day to day. When you go into risk, the equation isn't always the same.
Correct.
And that's the biggest thing. So to me at least. So if you have like a good I'm a numbers guy. That's what me and Tosin are friends. But if the numbers make sense in anything you're doing, then I'm all about it. If it doesn't make sense or you cannot measure it, then it's hard for me to like really go along with something knowing that the numbers don't make sense. And to me, anything can be broken down to the numbers, whether it's client acquisition, the cost of acquisition, marketing dollars to get there, the output, as that's very big. So to me, it's uncalculated risk when you can't measure these things and you don't have any kind of numbers to back it up.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I would say it's funny that you mentioned that because in the past, I've been risk adverse before, right? True story. And it wasn't because of the uncertainty. It was just because I was just being lazy. I just didn't feel like it. Especially when you get to a place where you're quite comfortable and you just want to
you want to coast.
You just want to coast.
Yeah, weird. I'm the opposite. I'm scared when I'm comfortable. I'm like, it's only about a time. I got to get better.
Remember, you're a full-time entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
you can't afford to not.
I'm always in innovation. I take a breath and I'm like, all right, let's get back to it.
If I'm not growing, I'm dying. Right? My business.
That's literally what it feels like, right? Because you're like, it's only a matter of time. I need to innovate.
Exactly. But so this is what I'm saying here, because I remember I went to school for accounting, right? I remember when I graduated from university. My first job out of college I was a financial analyst, and now I was in the treasury department. And I learned every single thing about the business to the point that I could sleep and still be working. That's like, it was automatic, right? And I was managing liquidity at the time. I was
felt good too, right?
Yeah, I was doing asset management, right? Trying to look at the liquidity of the institution. But then I realized that every time there was an opportunity to apply for a new job or do this, I'm like, man, you telling me I got all this stuff all over again.
Ain't nobody trying to do that.
But guess what, though? Guess what? First of all, I felt like the money was good, right? Until, I was trying to move on from living in the hood to living in a nicer apartment, and I got a new car, and I realized, dang, I don't
step it up.
I don't think I could live like this on this salary.
Right.
And then I had to challenge myself because I think a lot of times, I don't know about other people, but I think generally as Nigerians, because I'm a Nigerian, one of the reasons why we're always looking for that next thing is because we have a certain lifestyle that we live and we want to be able to make enough money to live that lifestyle.
I would disagree.
Well, some people are like that.
Some people are. Because I think most immigrants, not just Nigerians, what I tell people is that we didn't come all the way over here to sleep on the couch, to be stagnant. So that might be what is causing most immigrants to be, trying to take risks and trying to push forward and grow.
But why? I guess to me, for all the young people over here, I think if you're under 30, then you're young, and if you have no kids,
if you're 30, this guy just had a birthday.
And if you're, like if you don't have kids, you're under 30, you're young.
Yeah.
To me, I'm like, when I was younger, I'm like, I think my biggest fear was failure, but to me, it was like bounded by time, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, well, if I'm scared to fail, I'm okay with failing a million times. I just don't want to get to the end of whatever and be like, shoulda, woulda, coulda, and now try it and fail. So to me, when you're young, you have less to lose.
Yes.
So it's in your best interest to try everything and fail.
You can recover.
You'll
Not
learn
even
from
just
it.
less to lose, but you can also recover.
That's what I'm
from
saying.
Whatever happens. You have
there's
that
not
time.
it's you. It's just you for the most part.
The
So-
older you get, the less risk you can take, pretty
Right.
much. It's kind of like looking at people's 401k, investments, what they usually generally teach out
Right.
there, which is the younger you are, the more risk you should take.
That's
the
right.
older you are, it
Correct,
should
because
be
you can
more-
recover.
More
and
stagnant,
to me,
more
failure
stable.
was like not trying to achieve the things I wanted to and getting to a certain age and be like, man, I'm old. If I fail now, it's really hard. So I was like, if I didn't try, I failed. So I was like, well, at least got to try it. Well, it's going to mess up. Well, I don't know that. You messed up, but maybe I have new ideas. Like, you know? So
what are some things that you can tell people that are kind of in that, hey, I'm good where I'm at? All right. And we're not talking about they're good because maybe family situations, whether they're caretakers or whatever it is, right? We're not talking about that, right? We're talking about people that have the opportunity, have the ability to, but they just don't want to take those types of risks.
Well, I think when you talk about risk, it's all about building that risk appetite, that risk muscle, right? Because remember, we said it, for some folks, it's because they're lazy. For some folks, it's the fear of the uncertainty.
Yeah.
So I say, number one, you got to start small. Start small, meaning that you don't need to just make a drastic change today, right? Because that could be considered gambling. You want to make a calculated risk. So look at, assess your entire life and look at what areas that you're looking to be risky and just take it one day at a time. You could call it your MVP to being risky, right? Yeah. So what is something that I could do? So maybe you have a 9-to-5 and you're looking to step into full-time entrepreneurship. It could be taking a bold step to just registering your LLC and say, you know what? I'm going to register my business.
I'm going to spend some money to register.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't
so
take much time
that's one, you're starting little by little, right? So that's number one. I would say number two is you want to surround yourself around people that are going to challenge you, especially
Preach.
in your comfort zone.
Preach.
Right? A lot of times we have people that are surrounding us that are telling us what we want to hear.
Correct.
And that allows us to live in a place of stagnation.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
You want to make sure that you surround yourself around people that are going to hold you accountable.
He's preaching.
Oh no, but that he stole my point. I was holding that one.
I just had the same conversation recently.
On what the people that are going to hold you accountable to what you're trying to do.
People around you.
And make sure that you are actually getting things done. And then the last but not least, don't treat failure like you need to look at failure like feedback. So in other words, a lot of times you don't want to take risk because you're like, what if I fail? So what if you do fail?
Failure is not final.
Failure is not final, my guy. So it's feedback. A lot of times, because remember we've spoken about people receiving feedbacks in the past, right?
Yeah.
Especially constructive feedback, right?
Right.
What does feedback does to you? It allows you to improve and get better.
Yeah.
Right?
I think what people do or don't do is, I think what got me to be way back when, but I run the same exercise with people because I'm like, well, what happens if you fail? Well, then this, that, and that. Okay, and then what?
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah.
It's like
Okay,
the world
and then
didn't
what?
end.
Okay,
So,
now you're here. And then what's the worst that could happen to
Exactly.
that? And that's what they do to you when you go to therapy. They're like, and then what? Okay, and then what would you do?
Yeah.
What would you do? Now that you walked yourself through the process, you've already been able to prepare for what could happen and you're not scared of it. So now you can go do what you're going to do.
I tell my clients all the time that you only need to get it right one time. The whole point is to continue to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying.
Right.
People don't have to know that, you tried 99 times before you got it right.
I'm still trying.
Seriously.
They only remember
Seriously.
that eventually you got it right. Does that make sense? But if you don't take that risk and take that leap of faith to execute, then guess what? You'll never fail. And if you don't fail, you'll never grow. So those are the three things, take a bold step, surround yourself around the people that are going to challenge you, and look at failure as feedback.
But I think like now I just had a conversation with one of our mutual friends and who's trying to start a business. Then I walked them through the pricing structure and all that and everything. He wants me to come on board with him. and I told him, I was like,
tell him your fee on top of all that?
No, I told him straight up, I was like, look, I need you to check on the LLC. And I set a whole like synced up calendars, everything. To Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. You have these check-ins. If you're serious and you do these tasks, literally all these tasks should take you like 1 or 2 days, but I'm gonna split up into 3 weeks. So, you know, like just to make sure that I'm like, I can't be the one driving your dream. Because that happens a lot. Right. Like, and I was like, if you do these and I know you're serious, I'm not about to like, you know, I got a million things going on. I'm not about to jump in your dream if you can't. And generally when somebody's helping with my dream, I'm so eager. I'm like, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? So to me, if that energy isn't there, I'm like, man, you come at me whenever you're ready. And that's another thing you said about accountability. Yeah. I was like, look, if you're going to be a business owner, you need to be accountable. The issues you don't know how to go through the process.
Or you don't want to be accountable.
Well, he doesn't know how to go through the process. And I told him, I'll show you the process, but I'm not doing it for you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing it for you. Like, it's your business, not mine. Like, and so, you know, he was like slow about it. And he was like, hey, what are we doing next? And I'm like, you have a calendar and a list. Have you done that? And he hit me up like twice. Hey, what's this? I'm like, you have a calendar and a list. Have you done that? And now, you know, 2 weeks has gone by. This last 3 days, he knocked out everything. Okay. I was like, what took you so long?
Yeah.
He was like, man, I don't know. It just started to click.
It shows the power of accountability.
And at first he was more so like, you know, well, like, you know, people are used to being held accountable. And I'm like, you're the boss of whatever company you start. Yeah. You can't rely on anyone else.
Yes.
Like, why is anyone gonna move fast if you're chilling?
Yeah.
Like, you're not at a point where you can appoint people. And so that's what struck me when you said keep them accountable. And I learned from past experiences, you can bring people to the pond, but you can't force them to drink.
That's right.
That's it.
That's
you know, I went to Howard, and our motto was each one reach one.
You went to Howard.
I went to Howard. So
Morgan State University over here.
Ain't you? But our motto is each one reach one, not each one carry one.
Yeah.
Lend my hand out, help you get up. I'm not about to run back up, put you on my back, and feed you while you're on my back.
Yeah.
So, you know, because you're gonna burn yourself out. But it is good to realize that, you know, I think we do a poor job on average, which I learned from peers who are a little bit further along than me, that we see people as two things. Either we're going to carry them, or we're like, it's too much work and not carry them. I'm like, your job is to lend a helping hand. Carrying them is not helping them. They need to learn the tools and how to do these stages so they can be able to take those risks because they understand it, rather than, I don't understand how the business went because Alan did it.
So what about you, Tosin? How can people build up that risk muscle, you know, in your opinion?
I like everything that you've said, actually, and that's probably what we'll use to close up.
Okay.
Right. I wanted to add to what you said and piggyback on it, that even in those things that you mentioned, there are little risks.
Yes.
You mentioned about the people around you, your community. If your community is not one that's going to help push you to at least identify the things that you're good in so that you can take the risk in those things, maybe the risk is to first identify a new group of people.
That's correct.
You know, maybe it's by going to networking events, you know, social events, whatever it is, community events, and try and meet some new people that are.
But what if I'm an introvert though?
Doesn't matter.
Well, go to big groups. All right, don't do small groups
with an extrovert.
Yeah,
who's like-minded.
Or I mean, there's got to be at least one person, whether at your workplace. It doesn't have to be like friends. It could be someone in your workplace.
I think a lot of people are scared. That's the issue. Like, in a lot of circles are scared. And, you know, fortunate for me, I haven't been really. I don't think I was ever a scared person, period, because I don't. It just never really dawned on me. Don't get me wrong.
Well, you know what? If they're scared, what's the worst that somebody can say if you're trying to reach out?
That's the worst.
They say, no, you never see them again.
No. I'm saying in general to take risks, even to meet people.
Yeah.
They're scared.
That's what I was saying. That may be the first step to a lot of people, because they might not have the right people around them to be able to support them. So the first risk is to go and meet somebody new that can possibly have those skills and maybe that advice or mentoring that can help you into.
He's a fake introvert because he does all this.
Well, I mean,
he just says that.
Hey,
he thinks it comes with the occupation.
Closes out to
Hey, so again, I appreciate everybody one more time. But I do want to encourage everyone out there, please take risks. It doesn't have to be that big risk that, is going to end everything. No, it can be little steps, such as first meeting new people, changing your circle, or even volunteering at your office. If you've got a W-2 job, volunteering for different projects or learning new skills and talking to your boss or your superiors about, hey, this is the way that I think we can implement this. Like give them a whole proposal on something. Take little risks to kind of step out of your comfort zone. All right. Because the longer we sit in comfort, the more when something happens, the more complacent that we are, the more like when a shock happens, it will destabilize you.
And we want to hear from you guys. Drop it in the comment section. What are the things that you're currently doing at this moment to build that risk tolerance, that risk muscle? Put that in the comment section. We're definitely going to be checking that out. You can find me on Instagram at @1Karise. And where can they find you, Alan?
I am.
Jesus Christ.
I am .adds.
Hey, yo, you might have to change that. You might have to change that.
Look, it's been a long day. Look, I just came from work. You know?
Where can they find you?
They can find me at Tosin Amatau CPA. I did add CPA to it. All right. So.
All right. Until next time, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Peace out, guys.